up to the Gemara Daf Kuf Nun Gimel. Daf Kuf Nun Gimel, and we're continuing with the Shchimera, again, remembering the difference between if you give away all your assets and you recover, you get it all back. If you gave away only part of your assets, you treat it like a matnas body, and therefore you have to have a kinyan. On the other hand, you cannot unwind what you did. And okay, so we're up to the Gemara here. What happens trying to understand the wording? Kufnun Gimel Amad Aleph, we're up to 5 lines on the top of the page. The last word of the line is Ahi Matanta, there was a Matana, the Havikosav Bo. It was written in the Matana, this is a Matna Shchimera B'miktzis, right? He's giving part of it away. So L'chayda, normally we say that it's a matnas bari. You're giving part of it away, you're keeping the rest yourself, you're giving away as a gift. But we learned before that even a matnas, even a shchira b'miktzis, if it's mitzav machmas misa, if you tie it to the fact that this person is dying, we even said last time, just a preamble, oh, I'm dying, and so on and so forth, then even though it's only mixes, it's treated like a shchimera, which means you don't need a kinyan, and you can unwind it if the person recovers. So the lashon he wrote here was, Kosob was written, b'chayim uvamavis, in life and in death. So now he raised the fact that the person is dying, but he also stressed the fact that he's alive. So what's the kvetche? On chayim, he's alive, so then it's a regular matana. Is like a matana because I'm alive, or is the kvetche mavis, that he's dying, and therefore it's only a matna shchimera, and if he recovers, he takes it all back. So the Gemara, how do you understand, but why both words? I mean, it seems to be self-contradictory. So the machlekes between Rav and Shmuel. Rav Amar harehi kematnas shchimera. Rav says that we treat it like a matana of a shchimera, that he is dying, because he said the word mavis. So why say b'chaim? It's like when we say a person, you say shlita. Every time you say a person's name, so sheyichya, so referring to himself, he's giving himself a bracha. He doesn't want to give an eye, even though he thinks he's passing away. He doesn't want to give himself an ayin hora. So he says also the word chaim, as Gemara explained. Shmuel Amar harei kematnas body. Shmuel says no. He said chaim. He meant chaim, that he thinks he's going to live, and it's a matnas body. And Gemara explains. Rav Amar harei kematnas shchimera, which means which means if he recovers, he gets it all back. Medechsiv ba mothers. What he meant was that it doesn't become yours till after the person dies. So it's not a matnas body; it's a matnas shchimera, and only after he dies. If he doesn't die, he wants it back. Exactly, like a regular shchimera, like every shchimera. V'hadik said b'chaim simin ba'alma dechayim. Just he's giving himself a bracha that he that he should live. So the chayim is not a condition; it's merely he's trying to stop ayin horos. Shmuel Amar no, harei kematnas bari. Shmuel said because he said the word b'chaim, he wanted to take effect straight away. This is a matnas bari, and therefore he can, if he recovers, fafan. He meant mechaim kama. I wanted to take effect straight away. It says about mavis. It says clearly also why did he bring in about mavis? So why do you add that at all? He meant to say is that as if mechaim you have right now, and despite the fact that I die, whatever it is, it remains yours forevermore. Forget. So the Ika kvetch is the first word he said, which is b'chaim. So now the question is, okay, the question says b'chaim uvamavis, in my life and in my death. So what he meant by that? What about if he said mechaim? Sounds like clearer. He's saying I wanted to take effect mechaim while I'm still alive, which means it's a matnas bari. That's what it would think. Maybe Rabbi Shmuel don't even argue here. Everyone would agree that this is considered matnas bari, like Shmuel says. So that's exactly what the Rabbi says. Says the Gemara, we'll see in a minute. The halacha is like Rav in this case. Usually we follow in halacha of dinim, we follow Shmuel. But in this case, an exception, we'll follow Rav. And what? That if he says b'chaim uvamavis, it's a shchimera. He meant it shouldn't take effect till after he dies. But Rav comes along and says, if it says from living and onwards, sounds like he wants it to take effect right away. So mamish, it's a matnas body, and therefore if he recovers, he cannot take it back. Kana is kana. Amar Abmeimar less hilchas kavasi the Rav. Allah is not like Rav. Amar Rav Shalameimar pshita is obvious. You just said a minute ago that Allah is like Rav. Isn't Rav and Rav saying the same thing? The harm in the doy Allah hilchas kavasi the Rav. Allah like Rav and says that what if you mention death and life in the same sentence, the ikazach is as if it's death, and therefore it's a shchimera. If he recovers, he gets it back. So Ameiman explains why there's a difference between Mechaim and Bachaim, and you would have thought there's a difference, nuances. And I'm coming to tell you there's no difference. Maude, I would have thought Mechaim, if you add the mem, Mechaim Moide Rav would concede that you meant it should start now from while he's alive. In other words, it's a real matana. In other words, if he recovers, he cannot take it back. Kamashalon, I want to tell you, there's no chilik Mechaim, Bachaim. When he said Mechaim, he meant to give himself a bracha. But I should still live on, even though he said Mechaim. I would have said, Nachman, and this person came from Nachman, came to, now this is a very interesting idea here. The respect that one Rav has for another Rav. So what happened here was, this person came to Rav Nachman to Nehadoi, and Nehadoi is the seat of Shmuel. And this very story, he wrote Bachaim of Amalis. Now, according to Shmuel, the thing would be is that it's considered Bachaim, a living thing, a matnas bari, you cannot, even though you recover, you cannot take it back. And that's what happened. The guy recovered, he wanted it back. But the halacha is like Rav. And the Rav paskins that really it's a matnas shchivera, and the chaim is only a gimbus bracha. So according to Rav, he recovered, he gets it back. The problem was that this was in the doi after Shmuel passed away. Shadrei lekamed Rabbi Barabba, he decided he doesn't want to paskin. He recused himself, and he sent it to another city. He sent it to Rabbi Barabba l'shum Tamya, the city of Tamya. He sent the Shaila, he said, I want you guys to paskin there. And he knew they would paskin correctly. Omar, he said, Hocha asa de Shmuel. This here is a shul of Shmuel, the seat of Shmuel. How can I? He said, like, Agam lichvash the malkimi baboyes. How can I paskin in his city against him? Even though he passed away already, and the halacha cloth is like Rav, out of the cheretz. For Shmuel, it's an amazing thing here. Out of the cheretz of Shmuel, you want to paskin against Shmuel in his own city. The next story is a little bit sad. This woman that's going to be in the next story, obviously she knew how to learn well. Doesn't give us a name, but obviously she knew her stuff. Also the Kamed Rav. I remember Rav, even though Rav, they said halacha is like Rav, Rav tried to wedge his way and say, but if we say Mechaim, maybe it's different. So no, Rav is more inclined like Shmuel. In Mechaim, it's a matnas body, and if it recovered, too bad. So what happened was, Ahid also the Kamed Rav. This woman came before Rav with her shaila, and it says that Bachaim of Amavis. Bachaim didn't even say Mechaim, it's Bachaim Amavis. So Rava ruled it could actually didn't say Bachaim, it said Mechaim. And Rava Paskin before that if it says Mechaim, it's a matnas body. She recovered. She's like, what happened? She recovered. Too bad. You gave it away. And Rava Paskin like his truck. Have it kotardle. She started nudging him. She said, what are you talking about? You're passing me wrong. Look what Rava did here. Rava felt he was right. But she was a nudnik because she was driving him crazy. So he wanted to deceive her. So Rabba said to Papa Bere de Rav Chanan Safri, who was the Sefer of Rabba, I'm looking more a few weeks ago that the Sefer of Rabba and Abai knew their stuff. Because the Amoraim said, we don't know this halacha, they're going to know, and sure enough they knew. Zil Ksoivla, this is what you write her. Write her that she's right. So she'll have a star in her hand, and she'll go to another bezin to collect her stuff, right? She recovers and she wants her stuff back. But the Kosovo, add the following. Add the following Mishnah, which is totally unrelated here. The din is if you hire somebody and then they walk off in the middle of the job. So we learned before that you got to say, you can go ahead and you can hire somebody else for the second half of the day. And if it costs a bit more, you deduct from him. Or you can trick them. You can trick the people who are there. You know what? I'm going to give you a higher wage or something. And trick them and then don't follow through. You could either hire another worker and deduct from them, or trick them, deceive them. Sometimes you're allowed to deceive them. Now, another Rav who's smart would see this, what's that to do with her case, and realize that the Rav himself was deceiving this woman, telling her that, yeah, you're right, you have a right to get your stuff back, or she go to the bezin and say, sorry, the halach is mechayim, is like a matnas bari, and you can't take it back. That's what he thought. Amra, she was so smart. She right away realized what his Rav was doing. She cursed him. Litva arbe. Finally, Rav made some money. He had a ship. Your ship should. You have much luck. Your ship should capsize. After you come back to me, you're going to trick me. You're going to fool me. So what did Rav do? Rav was scared of her. Amshinu lemone, the Rav Babai says Talmidim or himself. They took his clothes and they submerged in the water, thinking they'll be yaitz of the curse, like a Nochot Chernobyl over there, Yeah. It's, sorry, the old parrot. I'm seeing the money the Mayan water. I feel a hockey like Ifrig Mitzvah was going to Holfen, his ship capsized. The rubber is not having much muscle. Obviously, she knew her. She was a Talmud Chachama, whoever she was.
Yeah.
So that I'm saying that Tia Kila's headed Kal Beinecha. And Robert took it seriously because why did he wash his clothes? Because he was scared.
Well, just a question on that.
Yeah.
We come to the halacha because we're trying to work out what the mind of the person is.
Yes.
So she comes along and says, "This is what was in my mind."
Yeah,
How
but we
can
don't
you
trust
then?
her anymore because she has a vested interest. Remember the case we learned a few days ago yesterday that this girl's sister of Rabdimi, every time she got sick, she thought she was dying, and she promised him every time, yeah, I'm going to give it to you, I'll never take it back. And then as soon as she recovered, she wanted it back.
Yeah.
She wasn't a liar, because at the time, that's what she felt, because she would rather want his company and everything else. But then when she recovered, suddenly he had a new thought. Hey, I need to live. So just because today she says, I meant this and this and this, and you give it back to me, doesn't in any way prove to us that that's what she meant at the time. Because she's in a gay bedover. That's the problem.
Yeah.
And ask her.
Right.
Okay. Mishnah. Anyway, that's how. Okay, the Gemara continues. What happens now? In the way it was is when you had a star shchimera, it would start off saying while I was sick and lying in bed, and then you have all these instructions. That's how you start off a shchimera. And when you started off an ordinary artan, you say, while I was walking in the marketplace or while I was working in the marketplace, I decided to give these gifts. There was a standard introduction to whatever you're about to write. What happens if this star was a vanilla star? Nothing in it. Didn't mention a word about being sick. Didn't mention a word about being healthy, about being in the marketplace. And he comes along and says, I was a shchimon at the time, and now I recovered. I want anything back. And the recipient said, no. You were a buddy. You were a healthy person at the time, and you gave it to us as a healthy person. Says the Gemara. Says the Mishnah. It did not record in this document that he was a shchimon. And what happened was he gave them nothing was there, not body, not skin, nothing. And and we're talking about over here that he gave it all away, but they say you're a body, you're healthy. If you're healthy, you give it all away. That's give it all away. We're not going to stand it. The only time we have this discussion about giving it all away or not giving it all away is if you were sick. What was in your mind? But if you're a healthy person, you decide to give away all your assets. That's your business, and then we don't have to sit there and think that he was because he wasn't dying. Why give it away? I don't know, for whatever reason. So so that's the big dispute. The beneficiaries say if it's a matnah's body, it's ours. And he comes forward now, he's healthy, he tells the bezin that I was a shchimon at the time, and now I recovered. Give it back to me. And they said, no, you were a body at the time, and you gave it to us. So who do we believe? Who aim shchimon give it back to me. The hey naim change your mind. The hey naim anymore, I got better. The hey naim, they say bori hayisa, you were healthy at the time, and therefore you don't get anything back. So according to the mayor, tzarich lahavi raya shchimon. He's like the mighty. The Gemara will explain a little bit differently, but going back to what we learned last time, when does the shchimon not take effect? So in a way, the mayor says it sort of took effect straight away, and now he wants to undo it. He is the mighty. He's taking it. They already have a connection. The beneficiaries have a connection to the assets. You want to take it back. You prove that you were a shchimon at the time. And then we'll see more later, a little different explanation. And the Chachamim say, Hamaitzi mechaveda olavarei. The beneficiary is on Maitzi because it doesn't take effect till after he dies. He didn't die yet, so he's still the muhzik. They want it. You prove that he was a body at the time. So the Gemara, because this matana that was written there, Kad Havi Kotzi, when I was sick, Rabbi Bar saying I was bedridden, I was lying in bed, the like Kosaba, and it wasn't written there. So this is the standard thing that you write. You just write that the person. Now, when do you normally write the star shchimra? Only after he died. So normally you write one more sentence. You write, I'm writing this while I'm sick, and then he passed away from this sickness. Because if a shchimra is dying, he recovers, and a week later he gets sick again. Whatever happened then is over. It doesn't come back. It starts again. If you didn't say it again, I'm giving away. Nothing happens. Because once you become imamad, once he becomes healthy, then everything unravels. There's nothing left. So usually you're right. Umene mare And from that very sickness, if the lebesa lumps, but it wasn't written there. So the question is, what happened here? Yeah. Omar Rabba, and now the question is, they say, the beneficiaries say he died, and he died from this very same sickness. So therefore, we get to keep everything shivra. And others say no, he did not die from that sickness. He got better, and then he died after something else, or he got sick another time, and therefore, whatever he gave you is garnished. So Omar Rabba, so Rabba says there's sort of two contradictory chazakas. There's a chazaka dahashta. Chazaka dahashta is, what do we know right now? He's dead. So if chazaka, do we say, well, if he's dead right now, probably that's what it was, and he's dead from a sickness, so that's probably what it was before as well, that he died from that sickness. Or do we say the other way around? We don't know what happened right now, but we know one thing for sure: these assets were his before, and since these assets were his before, they're probably still his assets right now, which means they didn't die from that sickness. It still belongs to him. Do you go the chazaka now and go backwards, or do you go the chazak from before and go forwards? So that's going to be two opinions here anymore. Had a mace right now. Right now he's dead. And the Keder proves it that he's dead. And therefore, we're going to say that because he's dead right now, probably he was dying before, and we know that he was dying before, and probably from that very sickness that he was sick before is what he caused him to die now. And therefore, the matanas of Allah matanas, the matal shibra. Who told you that he died from that sickness? Why? Now. A ship that capsized in the water. And most people who capsize in the water, they drown. Right? This is one of the most difficult sugyas in your Shas and Yivam is that Mayim Shein Lem Sof. We say that the woman water, the Atlantic Ocean, that you can't see from one end to the other end. We say that the woman is still an aguna because we didn't see any more of your stories, but keep other stories to prove that it can happen, that people will survive. So Madach, in the case of a ship, the Rove people there did not survive. And yet we are so strict there. We say, Ruben la'abed, nois in alem, chum lechaim, we don't know. And the din there is like this: if there was a man on the ship, and he left behind his wife, if the wife was a bas kohen and he was a yisrael, so the normally if her husband dies, she goes back to her family, she can eat truma. Here you can, because maybe the husband survived, maybe she's still married to yisrael. If she's a bas yisrael married to a kohen who was on that ship, and we don't know what happened to him, we say can't continue eating because maybe the husband is dead. At the same time, you had two people. One person we're going to treat as if he's alive, and one person we're going to say. Yeah, okay, yeah. So in case was also, yeah, right. So at the same time, we have two people on the ship. One person we're going to say maybe he's alive, one person maybe he's dead. And Roy people there are dead. So Madach, in the case where Roy people are dead, we still say, let's be machmir. When it comes to sick people, we're not talking about geises. We have a rule: if a guy's in the throes of dying, then most people don't recover. But most people are sick, what bedridden, they get well again. But we learned in Margitten that if a sick person sends a get, the shliach can still give the get and assume that the husband's alive. Because sick people, most people will survive. So most people live is like Koshke, and surely will say that this person sick was 2 weeks ago sick, recovered. Now that he died, it's a new sickness. And therefore those Yoshim therefore should not get anything because he recovered. Should not get anything. Because he is the Muhzik. We don't look at the Chazak and the Hashta, we look at the previous Chazak. The previous Chazak said he was a Muhzik, the assets are his. The person who died, the assets are his. So we don't know what happened. The assets should still remain with him. No, the Yoshi get, not the person he gave it to. Stays with the family. Because that's Shrimina. Shrimina is only because yeah, and then a car hit. And he didn't die from Shrimina. He has to die from that sickness. That sickness caused him to write this. Yeah, but he did. It's like a condition if I die from the sickness, but he didn't die from this sickness, and he might have died from the sickness, but he didn't. So therefore, it doesn't happen. It's like all these back at tonight. This is all how we're how we built this thing. It's a construct of this thing. So Rabba says you do chazaka the hashta, and Abaye says you look at the chazaka before, and that tells us of today. The Rabba actually, so Abaye asked a question. He wasn't really arguing with the Rabba; he was asking a question. So Rabbi answers, "It's Taka Machleket Tanoim," and Rabba holds like Rab Nosson. What's the story? The Tanya we learned in the Braisa. What happens if there's a matana? There's a star. I'm giving it away, but it wasn't written there was a shchivana. It wasn't written there was a body, and we don't need to. We don't know. So now it's exactly Mishnah. One guy says the family of the shchivana says that he was sorry. The guy recovered now. So this guy says I was a shchivana when I gave you the matana. Give it back to me. And they say no, you were a body when you gave it to us, and therefore the matana is final. So what happens in this case? Exactly our case in the Mishnah. Me moitzi me yad me. Who's the moitzi? So the first opinion says, "Who might see be a we trust him. He doesn't need proof. If he says I was a shchivana, we believe him. The hain ain might seem be but they claim that he was a body. Prove it. In other words, even though he was made as a shchivana and everything else, we look at the chazaka from before. And what does the chazaka from before say? The chazaka from before says that the assets belong to him. So therefore, we're going to say the assets still belong to him. Still belong to him, which means that he must have been a shchibana at the time when he gave them the matana. That was Rabbi Yaakov, which is not like Rabbah. However, Rabbi Nosson says, we look at today and let's look at him today. If today he's healthy, okay, he's claiming he was a shchibana yesterday when I gave him the star, but today he's healthy. So what does the Chazak of the Hash to tell us now? If he's healthy now, he's probably healthy yesterday as well. So he has to then prove that he was a shchibana. Then Allah shchibana. But im shchibanahu, if he's still a shchivana right now, he's still dying, and they're having an argument about what the star he gave them last week, and he said, look, it's the same sickness, I haven't moved, and I'm still bedridden, I'm going to die from the sickness. Since today he's a shchivana, then he was a shchivana yesterday as well, because Chazak and Ashta is aleihen lahavi raisha b'roy. The onus of proof is on them that he was a body. In other words, we look at Chazak and Ashta, and Rabbah follows Rab Nosson. Amar Rabbi Loza comes along and says, well, the Indian tumah as well. We have a general rule we learn from Saita that if we're not sure if there's a question of tumah in a private place in a shus hayachid, we're always machma. Just like a Saita, we don't know if anything happened, but because it was in a privacy in a discreet place, so therefore we're machma. A suffix tumah shus hayachid. I feel the fake is. No matter how many doubts we have, we are machma. In a shus rabim. Since the nida is only, since the site is only taken in a private place, but if it's in public, there's no din of saita. So we say that a suffix tumah, which is a rabbim, is tar. So Kamla Rabban says, "Ula tumah." When it comes to tumah, is kemachlekes, just like Rabbi Yaakov doesn't argue by matana, whether we go after chazaka da hashta or we go after the chazaka from before and reflects on today. The same machlekes regarding tumah. What happened like this? The rules are that in fields, in the summertime, nobody plants anything during the field, so it's open to the public. We're talking about a bikah that has a fence around it. So as far as Shabbos is concerned, it's treated like a Shus Yachid. We have a concept in Shabbos called a karfif, yoisim bebeis hasayim. If a karfif, a big area, even if it's enclosed, but if it's larger than 2 saw, the Rabbanon don't let you carry inside it. They don't have to carry inside it, but Mahatoida, it's definitely a Rosh Hashanah. So if somebody throws a ball from the street into there, you threw from a public space into a private space. But Rabbanon, because it's an open area and such a large area, such a large expense, you're not allowed to carry there. As far as Shabbos is concerned. As far as Tumah is concerned, it depends if it's summer or winter. In the winter, when people plant B'Meisak Shamim, nobody goes there. That's Rosh Hashanah. As far as Tumah is concerned. And if, in other words, if there's a suffix Tumah in the wintertime, we are going to be machmer and say probably you did touch the whatever the sherets, the pre-patrolling. But in the summertime, when the public usually go there, they relax there and everything else, then it's treated like a public space as far as tumah is concerned. And if you think maybe there's a possibility I touched something tamei, we are going to be lenient. The problem was you came to Rav and you can't remember when it happened. Was it the summertime or the wintertime? So what do? How do we paskin? So you see, the same argument we have here, whether you look at, remember, his chazak is that he was tired. Till this question came up, he was tired. His old chazak, if you reflect on it today, you will say, yeah, it probably happened in the winter, in the summertime, and he's tired. And when it's a public space. But if you look at the chazaka of right now, you have to look at what weather, what's the weather at the time when he came. If you look at the chazaka today, and we'll go back, it will say it depends. If he came to us in summertime, then probably it was summer when the shaila happened. So when this event happened. So therefore, we're going to say that he is tired. If he comes to us in the winter time, or the chazaka the hash right now is winter, we're going to say it probably happened in winter, and he'll be tummy. It's the exact same machlekes whether the today tells you about yesterday or the yesterday tells you about today. So the Gemara says, now we learn because they have this valley. In the summertime, it's considered a Rishus Yachid only as far as Shabbos is concerned because it's enclosed. But it's a Rishus Rabba public space, L'tumah, when it comes to Tumah, because a lot of people go there. But B'Meisak Sham in the wintertime when they plant, nobody goes there. So Rishus Yachid Lekan Ulekan. It's a Rishus Yachid for Shabbos and for Tumah because it's a private place. Nobody goes there. Very good. Omar Rabbi says, Rabbi, so therefore it's actually machlekes. As we come to the way I just explained to you. Omar Rabbi, now Rabbi comes along and says an interesting halacha. When we look at this karfif and we say it depends if it's winter or summer, it's only the first season. A winter season hasn't gone by. But once a winter season has gone by, so during that winter, we treated it as a private place for Tumah as well, just like for Shabbos. From then on in, I don't care if it's summer or winter, it's always considered a Rishus HaYachid. Once you've given it a status of a Rishus HaYachid, it's always treated as Rishus HaYachid as far as Tumah is concerned. I will over all of Yemaisak Shamim. Once you went through a winter, then Rishus HaYachid lekan ulekan. It becomes a Rishus HaYachid for Shabbos and for Tumah. And the machlekes about this continuation of the Gemara before, just stop saying a new halacha. But once you've established Shus Yochid, especially because it's already Shus Yochid as far as Shabbos is concerned, and therefore we say now, okay, once you've given it the status of Shus Yochid with Tumah, that's how it remains. Says the Mishnah maybe we'll learn tomorrow. Okay, we'll continue tomorrow. So Nusugina will continue that tomorrow. What the Chachamim say that the beneficiaries have to prove that he was actually a shchimah at the time. Okay, have a good day, everybody.